Now here's the greatest thing about all of these response cards. Every single response card that you have purchased, including every single receiver, whether that's one receiver or 100 of them, we ship them to you all set to the same exact radio frequency channel. Now what does this mean? Well, basically, if you're going to be the only one who is using TurningPoint at a given time within a 200-foot radius, this is absolutely nothing but a plug-and-play system. Now, what I mean by this is that if I'm the only one within 200 feet who's using TurningPoints, the only thing I have to do before I start my PowerPoint is to plug in my receiver, and then I run the presentation. And, of course, when I arrive on a TurningPoint slide, my audience is going to be able to pick up their response cards, click one button to respond, and it will automatically get those responses. Notice I mentioned nothing about an on or off switch, a registration code, or licensing code. This is a plug-and-play system 100% of the time as soon as you take it out of the package. Unless you do indeed have somebody else within 200 feet who is also using TurningPoint at the exact same time you are, and they're also on the same TurningPoint channel. If this is the case, one of us is going to need to change the channel on both our receiver, which I'm showing right now at the bottom middle, and each one of the response cards working with the receiver, because we need to be on an opposite channel than anybody else within 200 feet. Now, Alan, let me ask you this. Is this ever going to be the case where more than one presentation is going on at a single time?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. We're changing classes, and we're going to have to
okay.
We're going to have to get another receiver, and then we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with these response cards. But, yep.
Sure, absolutely. Well, since that is going to be the case, then I absolutely do need to cover the process of changing the channel on a receiver and also the response card if it's necessary. So if I need to change the channel on my receiver, the very first thing I need to do is plug the receiver into the USB port, and I've already done this. The second thing I need to do is open up TurningPoint. And of course, we're already there. Now, to change a receiver channel, I'm going to bring up my TurningPoint ribbon by clicking on my tab. Now I'm going to come over to the right of Insert Object to where it reads Tools and left click. When I left click on Tools, you're going to notice at the very bottom of the menu I have Settings. When I click on Settings, this opens up my TurningPoint settings. Now don't get overwhelmed by everything you see from within here, because the only thing we're focusing on for us at this time is in the upper left-hand corner where it reads Response Device. I'm going to left-click on Response Device, which now highlights it. Notice over here on the right-hand side that I have a category which reads Response Card Channels. Now, since I do have a receiver plugged into my USB port, it is registering it with the identification number, and over here to the right-hand side, it's displaying what channel my receiver is currently set to. Now, by default, the channel that all of our hardware is set to, regardless of where in the world it's shipped to, is channel 41. You can see mine's already set there. But what if I have somebody else within 200 feet who is also using 41? I need to change this. So to change this channel, I'm just going to left-click over top of the 41, which now gives me a drop-down menu. From this drop-down, I can change my receiver anywhere between channel 1 all the way down to 82. I have 82 total options of channels I can be on with TurningPoint. It doesn't matter which one I decide, because they all have equal strength and equal frequency. We just want to make sure that nobody else within that 200-foot range is also using that same channel. So I was on 41, and now I just changed it to 45. This is the only thing I need to do from this menu. I can now move down to the lower right-hand corner, click the Done tab to escape. The channel change on that receiver is now successful. I have done it. So let me briefly review those steps. Plug the receiver in first, and then open up TurningPoint. From the TurningPoint ribbon, click the Tools tab. Go down to Settings. Don't worry about all the other stuff going on in Settings for right now. Just click on Response Device in the upper left-hand corner. You can now see the second category to the right is Response Card Channels. You're going to see the identification number and what channel it's currently set to. As we speak right now, if you guys have never changed a channel on any hardware, it's all sitting on channel 41. Are there any questions on the process of changing a receiver or when this would need to be done?
No.
All right, very good. Now let's think about this. I just changed the channel on my receiver from 41 to 45. But all of my response cards, and by the way, this response card functions the same way as your LCD screen. every single one of my response cards is also set by default to channel 41. Well, if I use these response cards right now with my receiver, they're not going to work because they're on a separate channel. So before I begin my presentation, I need to make sure that I change the channel on each one of these response cards to get them on the same channel as that receiver. To do this involves a three-step process on each response card. In the lower left-hand corner of your response card, you're going to have a CH button. By clicking on the CH button, you begin the process. Step number 2, you type out your channel, which in our case is 45. My third and final step is to click the CH button again. So it's CH, channel number, CH. Once this response card picks up a new channel, since you guys have the LCD cards, you're going to have the LCD screen right in the middle that will show you what channel it is now set to. Okay, that's the real benefit of using those LCD cards, that it will show you that. So once again, three-step process. CH, channel number CH. We will see in the LCD screen what channel it is currently set to. We need to get these on the same channel as the receiver. Now, it is very important to note that once you change the channel on both the receiver as well as a response card, it's going to stay on that channel until you change it again. So if I just change my receiver from 41 to 45, basically I can unplug this receiver, take it over to your computer, it's still going to say it's on channel 45. I'm not changing it on the software. I'm changing it on the physical piece of hardware. Same thing with those response cards. Once I change them to 45, they will remain on that channel until I change them again. Alan, do you guys have any questions on the process for changing response card channels or when this would need to be done?
No.
All right, very good, guys. Well, now let's get to the fun part, and that is, of course, running our presentation. So I'm going to make this as practical as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down and get back to my desktop. And now we're going to run through the 8 steps of successfully running TurningPoint. And remember, you're going to get this one-page document at the very end. So let's make this as realistic as possible. So here I am sitting, and let's just say I have students filing in right now, and my students are picking up response cards, and I'm ready to begin a presentation. So my very first step of running a TurningPoint presentation is to plug my receiver into the USB port. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is to open up my TurningPoint software. Well, as we've learned, when TurningPoint opens up, it's just going to open up a blank PowerPoint presentation. So now step number 3 is to open up the specific PowerPoint that I'm going to use. Now, step number 4 is not something we have covered yet, and it is only going to be something I cover if it's something you guys are going to immediately be using, and that is tracking individual results. So if you're tracking individual student results, at this time we would select a participant list. If we're not interested in tracking individual results, and we just want to see how the class is answering as a group, we can skip over step 4 and go to step number 5. And that's what I'm going to do for right now, because I'm going over the required steps. Step number 5 is the last one before we run the PowerPoint, and this is something called Reset the Session. Notice on my TurningPoint ribbon on the far left-hand side how I have a Reset tab. When I click on Reset, my first option is indeed Session. Once I select Session, it's going to reset every single one of my TurningPoint slides to get them ready to pull my audience. As you're going to see, it's going to get rid of the 33% on each chart and bring it back down to 0%. I'm now ready to run my presentation. I need to reset, though, before I run that presentation. Now, I'm ready for step number 6. Step number 6, of course, is running the PowerPoint. So basically, I'm just going to go to my slideshow as I always would. Let me get rid of those WebEx tools that are in my way. Now I'm going right from the beginning. Now, of course, my first slide was just my welcome. My second slide was, of course, my agenda. Now, the third slide that I have in the presentation was the very first TurningPoint slide that we inserted. Now, we know that it's a turning point because in the upper right-hand corner, we have what's called a show bar. I want you guys to view your attention to the very upper right-hand corner where it reads Polling Open. This polling opened up automatically. I didn't touch anything on my computer, wireless remote or otherwise for this to take place. So if the polling opens up automatically, that means that my students can begin answering this question immediately as soon as the slide comes up. Now I want you to notice a little bit left to the polling open where it reads responses. as each participant responds to the question, you're going to see this number accumulate in real time. So I, of course, have 2 response cards sitting in front of me, and I just answered the question using the 2. And I can see that both cards have responded because, of course, I have a number 2 below responses.